Greetings, welcome, sharps, newbies, and squares. We're back with another edition of Play On with Jorey and Harley. I'm your host, Jorey Mittelstadt, joined by the Pascal Siakam wearing bald, more cleanly shaved this week, otherwise known as the professional Harley Redlook. Good day, sir.
Would you like me to comment on how good the hair looks or how bad the wraps look right now?
Park both for the moment.
Home to Sacramento, blowing a big lead.
Yeah, well, I watched a lot of the game last night. It was disappointing.
To Orlando, that's a bad.
No, they're in a
stretch.
bad way right now.
That's a bad.
I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the Raps today. Although you may surprise me because you may have a bet related to the Toronto Raptors, but you never tell me what you're playing beforehand, so we'll all have to wait to find out. As always, we're powered by PointsBet, the official sports book of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, NBC, and so much more. We're going to get into NFL week number 15, the World Cup final. There's also a third place game that nobody seems to remember.
We're not discussing the third place game.
No? Oh, I figured you were going to surprise me when I asked you about the World Cup final and have a play on the third place game, because that's typically the way you roll.
Agreed. If there was value, the truth is in the third place games, it's a little bit of a tangent, but in third place games, if you can find a motivated team versus a disappointment team, that's great. The truth is both of those teams are happy and proud of themselves to be there. I mean, maybe
hard to get up for that one, though.
Morocco's going to be up for it. That's a remarkable accomplishment for them.
I was going to say harder for Morocco to get up for it.
No, other way around.
You think because Croatia's been there?
Croatia's been there. I mean, Morocco.
They were in the final, right? 4 years ago.
Morocco's has been free rolling ever since they made the playoffs, but I don't have a play. I do have a play on the World Cup to come later on.
All right. We'll also get into the first week of college football bowl games, as there are 8, 9, 11. There's 12 games between now and next Thursday, and I think there's 43 in total. That includes the college football playoff, which we're still a couple of weeks away from. I should also remind you that we're with you each and every Thursday live from the Bottom Line on Front Street in downtown Toronto. It's literally right beside the Hockey Hall of Fame, and it is Harley's go-to spot for wings and other good grub. As I mentioned, we'll get into week 15 of the NFL the way we always do. We're not going to break down every game, but we'll have picks for you. Harley will have a same game parlay for tonight's Thursday nighter. And remember, the Saturday games start this week. I don't think there's Saturday games this week and next.
Well, next week is Christmas Eve. The bulk of the games are on Saturday, and then there's 3 games on Christmas Day.
Taking on the NBA.
Which sounded amazing.
Until you see the slate?
The slate is horrendous, and they'll still triple to quadruple the NBA ratings.
So we'll get into all of that. Harley will have plenty of picks, and he's coming off yet another winning week. He'll pump his own tires in a minute. No, he'll just give you the numbers.
Just state the numbers.
Corey Travers, the head trader at PointsBet Canada, will be along for his weekly visit, but he'll be joining us online, not live in person. And Teddy Greenstein, after a week off, will also be back, the senior editor and player development manager for PointsBet USA and the head man at the Hustle newsletter. And we got lots to talk about with Teddy. There can also be a gambling story of the week. I forgot to ask, do you have one?
Not this week.
This week?
There's enough going on without side tangents.
And there can always be plays from either one of us, but more specifically Harley on NHL, NBA, college hoops, and I have been assured there will at least be one college football play. How do you get in touch with us? How do you tell us how we're doing? If we should grow hair? Anything. We'd love to get feedback from you. Reach out to us on Twitter. I'm at Jorey Middle. That's Jorey Middle. Harley is at Sharp Edge Picks. You can also email us, playon@pointsbet.ca. Now you get to tell everybody how you did last week and where you stand. And thanks to the New England Patriots on Monday night, it turned out to be another winning week. And you almost hit another same-game parlay last Thursday. You fell just short, right?
By 3 yards.
3 yards.
But I won the week before by half a yard.
Right.
I was up 4.96 units entering the week. I lost 0.2 units on the same game parlay. Acres came up. Oh, I have written down 4 yards short, not 3 yards. I won with the Rams in the Acres touchdown. That's the breaks. The week before, I won by half a yard. You got to remember your lucky ones and track them, because when the ugly ones happen, you curse everybody and everything, and it's better for your psyche to stay level-headed that way.
When you handicap that game, were you anticipating that Baker Mayfield was going to enter the game and turn it on its ear? I mean, he was phenomenal.
Yeah, in the last 3 minutes of the game, I mean, the Rams did nothing before that. The whole game was insane. I mean,
the Raiders should be
NFL.
ashamed of themselves losing that game.
Back to back.
I can give you like 5 different things that happened that shouldn't have, that allowed the Rams to even have a chance to win that game, but we don't have time. And it's a week ago. It's already been done.
It's done. Speaking of a week ago on Saturday, I lost 1.1 units on my under in Army Navy.
Yeah, that was incredible.
It was 10 all.
I was texting you when they went to overtime.
And even in overtime, it took 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Again, gross losses. That's the swings. Always bet within your means. Stay level-headed.
But they weren't coming close to the 32.5.
No, nowhere close. They couldn't sniff it. Then I won a unit Sunday as the Texans easily covered. They almost upset the Cowboys. And on Monday
I was in
night,
agreement with you on taking 17.
Yes, you were. You should have bet your whole 5.07 units on it and gotten out of the hole. And on Monday night, like you mentioned, I hit with the Pats. I made 0.7 units on the week. I'm up 5.66 units.
Is that a high for the podcast?
This is a high for the podcast. It's $566 if you're following my picks and betting $100 a pick. A big better would be up $5-6 grand following my picks. A small one, a couple $100, just to put it into context.
Yeah. And along those lines, we should remind everybody that PointsBet wants you to enjoy your gambling experience. But if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call the Connex Ontario helpline at 1-866-531-2600 or message PointsBet's amazing customer support, and they will definitely help you personally. Is it Teddy time? All right. So before we even get into our World Cup discussion, we'll start it with Teddy, as it is a pleasure to welcome back to the program
the myth, the
Teddy Greenstein, the senior editor and player development manager for PointsBet USA, head bottle washer at the Hustle newsletter, and all around good guy and college football expert. Good day, Teddy.
Jorey, Harley, nice to see you guys. Missed you last week terribly. Good to be back with you.
All right. So before we get into the World Cup, are you ready for college football bowl season? And is that something that you spend a lot of time consuming?
Yes, I love it. I know there's a movement, I wrote about it in the Hustle today. It's like the cranky uncle is like, oh, in my day, there were 5 bowls or there were 6 bowls, or like people just have a hard time understanding why 6-6 teams make bowl games. But really, the more the better. Now, you do want to cut it off. You want to have it where you have to be at least 6-6 or 7-5. So it is kind of reward for the players. But as somebody who used to interview college football players all the time, like, they value these trips. And, even if it's Shreveport, or they used to have ones in Toronto. I had a friend who played in Northern Illinois, and he said going to Toronto for the International Bowl was one of the best experiences of his life. So why would we want to take that away from players? And more importantly, why would we want to have fewer opportunities to bet on college football? So we've got basically 42 and then a 43rd game once the championship game surfaces. So, the more the merrier. I'm not way into the ones this weekend because we've got NFL. But once we get midweek games, I'm fired up. And I do have strong opinions on the semifinal playoff games.
Well, we'll have to save that one for next week and hope you can join us, because we're still a couple weeks away from the college football playoff, which are the bowls that really matter. Do you have a system, an approach with so many games and so many teams that a lot of people really don't pay attention to?
I'd say 2 things. One, if I have a good feel for the teams, I will guess the spread. And then if that number is off by 3 points or more, that is, that will inform my pick. And then 2, I'll just read and read and read. And I'll try to get good analysis from the people who pour into this. And then hopefully something will strike. I mean, the teams I know the best are certainly, the Big Ten, Notre Dame, and, some of the top level SEC. So it's hard for me to, feel good about Miami of Ohio or Troy or or the mean green of North Texas. But if there's somebody I trust, I'm going to read a bunch and try to sort of logically figure out, the big question with bowls, of course, is which is the more motivated team. The problem is you're only discovering that usually after the game or maybe during the game. It's hard to know going in which is the more motivated team. So that's kind of the guessing game that people are always playing.
And so you have no picks on sides or totals for the games in the next week, of which there are 12.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I honestly don't. No, I've been.
If you don't, you don't.
NFL and exactly, I'm not going to force it.
No, absolutely. All right, let's turn our attention to the World Cup final.
Yeah.
As we've discussed over the last few weeks, even when you weren't with us, you've made it known that you are a big soccer fan, and
yes,
we're certainly enthralled by the World Cup. And I have to say, personally, I'm a big event soccer watcher. I am far from aficionado. Harley's sort of in the same boat. I have to say the World Cup's been phenomenal. Would you agree?
Beyond. Absolutely sensational, gripping.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on vacation last week in the Caribbean, and I'm watching the games. Obviously the last two, the semifinal games, everything stops. You watch the World Cup, and my kids have gotten into it. My 11-year-old is wearing like an Argentina type shirt that she made yesterday. So it's been sensational. And we're going to be attending the Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand in July and August. That's how excited we are about this.
Very cool. So do you have a pick or any thoughts that we need to know about, whether it's for the third place game on Saturday or the final on Sunday?
Yeah, nothing on Saturday, although I would lean to Croatia. I think a more balanced team than Morocco, but the focus is obviously going to be on the championship game. My initial thought was Argentina, and we have a guy named John Eimer who does work for us for the Hustle, and he is all about Argentina.
Yeah,
so
I read the Hustle. I read the Hustle today, and I saw that. Yeah,
it confirms my suspicions. I also like his Julian Alvarez pick of over 1.5 shots on target.
Right?
And you know what I know? Yeah,
shot attempts?
shots on target actually. So he
shots
likes
on
2.
target.
And I'll tell you this, I was actually doing a little hunting around because I wanted to bet that as well. And some of the other books have it at maybe like plus 350, plus 375. Last time I checked, PointsBet had it at plus 500. Ooh. If Alvarez, who is, kind of the right-hand man to Messi, is able to put 2 on target, that would be really a juicy payout.
So you're leaning Argentina, and if so, how? Are you looking at it on the 3-way or just to win the game, right? Because there's different lines.
Yeah, what I tend to do is, I almost look at it like a roulette board, and I want to cover everything. So I'll do some just to advance, which is basically minus 110. I mean, I think it's incredibly cool that this matchup is basically dead even in terms of odds.
Even. Yeah.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. In regulation, both sides are plus 180. The draw is plus 200. And to win the game, both are minus 110. And it hasn't changed in 2 or 3. I guess the line only came out yesterday after the game, but it hasn't moved.
Opened up a small favorite. There was betting action on Argentina because of Messi's last game. I think that's a little overhyped, but we'll get to that soon.
He could be back. He's only 35.
He said he's done. This is his last World Cup.
I think it's his 4th. So, So nothing else we need to know. A prop, anything you want to give us?
And it's interesting, too, just talking about the line. I thought France would be a small underdog, in part because of recency bias. It was the game that was played more recently than Argentina. And I tend to stay away from betting good stories because I think you're not getting good value there. But this case with Messi, you're getting like plus 180 on anytime goal with him. You can do like plus 425 first goal. And as cheesy as it is, I think John made a great point, which was it's going to be a chippy physical game, which means there's a good chance for a penalty. And we know Messi's going to take it, and he's so good with those. So, it's just such an obvious play, but sometimes the obvious plays work.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody else has taken a penalty for Argentina in the tournament, have they?
I can say.
Yeah, no, not that I recall. All right, we got a pretty decent NFL game tonight.
Yes.
Notwithstanding the fact that the Seahawks have hit the skids, and it's Brock Purdy who apparently will go tonight. And I saw the line ticked up a half point when that was announced. a couple hours ago. So Niners are a 3.5-point favorite right now, and the total's 43. Any thoughts?
Yeah, we have this solidly 3.5. It had been 3 in some stretches. This is a big time pros versus Joes.
Yeah.
The Joes are loving San Fran. They are very attracted to the Purdy story. They know about all of San Francisco's great weapons, although Deebo Samuel is not one of them for a couple weeks. But Christian McCaffrey expected to have a huge game. It's a championship level defense. And the Seahawks have been floundering. I mean, that defense has really hit the skids the last few weeks. That said, what did we see last Thursday? If you're betting road favorites, it's just not a long-term success. We also saw, with the Dolphins last week losing as a road favorite. So I think if I have to pick a side here, it is Seattle plus 3.5. But honestly, I'm going to sit it out until kickoff and just bet it live.
Before we let you go, we know you love to talk pros versus Joes. So anything else from the weekend that we should know about? Because I saw the analysis in the hustle today on tonight's game. But what about looking ahead to Saturday or Sunday or Monday night?
I'll give you guys 3, and the third one I find a little surprising. So the first one is not surprising. That's Dolphins-Bills, where the public is, flocking to the Bills in part because of the weather. And, Tua has a terrible record in cold weather games. So the pros are, taking 7.5, and the Joes are laying. Colts Vikings is another one where, we're seeing way more bets on the Vikings -4. But the professional side is the Colts getting 4. The Vikings, as we saw last week, are, a good team, far from a great team. And then the one that is interesting to me is Chargers Titans, because the pros are with the favorite. And when the pros are with the favorites, I like to bet the favorite, which are the Chargers here. I don't really know why the Joes are flocking to the Titans. That team is kind of falling apart, only getting 3 points here on the road. But for whatever reason, we're seeing a lot of tickets on the Titans and way more money on the Chargers.
All right. That's an awesome breakdown. So as always, we thank you for the time and knowledge, and hope to talk to you next week. Enjoy the World Cup final, some bowl games, busy NFL weekend, lots going on. Thanks, Teddy.
Thanks a lot,
Teddy. Sure will, guys. Have a great night. See you.
Thanks. Teddy Greenstein, once again, chief bottle washer at the Hustle newsletter, which if you're in the U.S. and listening or watching to us and you're a PointsBet customer, you should be getting that and reading it. It's a good, quick read with some picks, some good analysis and numbers. And Teddy's also the senior editor and player development manager for PointsBet USA. All right, let's talk World Cup, my friend.
Sounds good to me.
So there's been a multitude of great games in this tournament. And think back, remember Argentina their first game?
Yeah, they lost to
the
Saudis.
Lost to the Saudis.
1-0 lead and lost, yeah.
And they've run the table since. But the game of the tournament for me is probably Argentina-Netherlands in the quarters.
Well, that was insane, right? The 2-0, and it was done, and then the Netherlands came back.
How about that free kick?
Oh, yeah, that's
where Netherlands
play, like the soft pass. That was like Statue of Liberty-esque.
And then the tension of the which nobody likes penalty kicks, but I understand it. But that was just a balls to the wall nuts game. Yeah. As soon as Netherlands made it 2-1, it was just great theater. What did I tell you at the beginning of the tournament? Not as an expert, but I was rooting for Argentina and Messi just because I like Messi and I wanted to see him get, that crowning jewel of his career with a World Cup win. Having said that, you have a bet. Is it on the game or is it a prop or what?
It's on the game. I like France.
Yeah, I figured.
Messi looked incredible, especially
that run
last
for the
game
third goal.
And that run, and everybody saw that. And now he's playing his last game. He's sentimental.
Last game for the national team, we think.
Last World Cup stage. He's sentimental and he's bet up. France is younger, more in their prime, deeper, more talented, and now they're just a pick-em. And they've looked better than Argentina all tournament. They've cruised and looked dominant, France.
I will add this, though. Do you know that the semifinal was their first clean sheet? They've given up a goal in every game,
but they've won all the games in regulation time, so they've been scoring a ton.
What do you think of this one, this prop? And by the way, PointsBet has a plethora of betting opportunities on the game. Both taking into account what I just said, that France has only had one clean sheet. Don't you like I'm using soccer terminology now, like I'm an expert, which I'm not. Both teams to score.
Yeah.
Yes, plus 125. No is minus 145.
I don't know. I don't love it one way or the other. I mean, France can win 1-0 and call it a game, and they're going to play defense, etc.
Jordan's waving at me. It's too early. Tell Corey to wait. We're not ready for him yet. We're not even close to ready for Corey. Does he not have a watch? Or he can't see it through that big stash he's got growing? Anyway, not enough cheap shots at Corey. Corey, sit tight. We'll get to you. That's Corey Travers, head trader, PointsBet Canada. Will join us probably in about 10 minutes.
I don't love that scoring bet. I'm taking France to win the World Cup in reg plus 180.
In regulation.
Yeah.
Remember, three-way lines, right? You could take them just to win the game at minus 110, but you like the plus 180.
What's the point of the minus 110? If it goes to overtime or a penalty kick, I'm not happy with my bet. I'm not regretting my decision. Then it's a toss-up. I think France is the better team, and they're going to win. I'll risk 0.7 units to win 1.26 units. Again, as you mentioned, they got to win in regulation. If it goes into overtime, shootouts, the draw comes in.
Just for fun, I'm taking you on.
Just for fun, so you don't get credit.
No. I make a one-unit bet.
A one-unit bet? Go for it.
Argentina plus 180 in reg. Taking you on. Just so we have some fun, man. It's a coin toss game.
It's not a coin toss game. France has looked better all tournament. France was rated
give you
higher.
Reasons, but I'm just a schmo reading stuff.
No,
I don't know enough about the game, about soccer. I mean,
I know enough to know France was rated.
You don't know shit.
France was rated higher the whole way through. They even opened up France a favorite in this, and the bettors bet up Argentina because they got excited.
It's sentimental. Absolutely, I get all that. I'm going sentimental,
but that's okay.
And I want to root for Argentina.
You should wear a T-shirt. Sentimental sucker schmo.
Hey, I'm rooting. I said from the beginning of the tournament I was rooting for Messi and Argentina. They're in the final. I'll place a little wager on them. Before we get to Corey, and we won't even get to the NFL before we talk about Corey, let's just quickly, we got a good 8-10 minutes to talk about the college bowl season. As I mentioned, 12 games between now and next Thursday, 2 tomorrow, starting with the Bahamas Bowl, followed by the Cure Bowl, whatever the fuck that is. 6 games Saturday, with the best one probably in terms of marquee team names, Florida and Oregon State, SEC Pac-12. 1 game Monday, the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Do they golf? Do they hit golf balls at the Myrtle Beach Bowl?
It's pretty chilly in Myrtle Beach.
And 2 games on Tuesday, and then 1 Wednesday. Anything from the first 12? Actually, no. Let me back up. You have a betting system you like to use for college bowls, so why don't you tell everybody what it is?
I have a betting system for college bowls. I wrote an article about it last year on my website, Sharp Edge Picks. The title of the article is Bowling for Underdog Dollars. And the premise is pretty much take almost every dog that you get at least 3-1 on your money on the money line.
Which means they got to be what? About
plus 300. They usually correspond.
No. What would the spread be?
About 10 points.
Right. I was going to say about 9.5.
Yeah, about a 10-point dog or so.
And just bet them on the money line.
And just bet them on the money line for a few reasons. One, the better team is usually a little disappointed in their season and playing down in the bowl, while it's a bigger deal for the weaker, the underdog team.
I'll buy that.
So motivation is a huge factor in these types of settings. These teams don't play each other. They come from different conferences. They often have very different styles of play. So if my dog style of play works well against your favorite style of play and I win, awesome. I get paid 3x, 4x, 5x. If your style of play is way better than mine and it doesn't work for me in meshing, I only lose 1 unit. So volatility is your friend. You add it up, last year was phenomenal.
A lot of big dogs won outright. And I think over the last, I saw some numbers and I forgot to jot it down. I wasn't in a position to do so at the time. I saw something like in the last 5 to 10 years, 36% of the underdogs have won the game outright.
Now, I will clarify, this doesn't apply in the college football semifinals or the big bowls where Georgia's about a touchdown favorite, and that this does not apply to that where both teams are competitive and power ratings and both teams are motivated. This is best applicable when one team really wants to win and the other team's not even thrilled to be there and they're an inflated favorites.
So you're not saying that this applies to the semifinal
The majors.
games,
I don't like in the majors.
or even the big, like the big other 5 bowls.
Then it depends on the psych out of what's going on. So with this in mind, I'm on 2 big dogs. Tomorrow I'm on Miami of Ohio.
Yeah.
Plus 320.
Whoa.
I'll risk 0.4 to win 1.28 units.
Miami, Ohio, plus how much?
320.
And you're risking how much?
0.4 units.
0.4 units, yeah.
They're playing UAB in the Bahamas Bowl.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday night, I got North Texas plus 310. Again, I'm risking 0.4 units, this time to win 1.24 units. And they're playing Boise State in Texas.
So it won't be on a blue field.
It won't. I checked that. It's not that Idaho blue field. Which is important.
If you don't know, Boise State's home stadium has a blue turf field.
Yeah.
For those who are unaware. All right. So you got plays on 2 of the 12
I got
between now and next week.
Between now and next week. And I'll revisit. Let's see. I'll revisit next week starting, I guess, next Thursday. We got bowls. Thursday's the 22nd, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Air Force and Baylor are playing next Thursday. Wow, I'm surprised.
I saw another crazy stat that the military academies have been on a really good role in the bowl games the last few years.
I don't have
the numbers to tell you.
That's a great example. Air Force is playing Baylor. Air Force is about a 2-1 dog. For Air Force, it's a big deal. Baylor, it's a disappointing season to be playing on December 22nd in a bowl that early in the year.
They almost knocked off TCU.
I understand.
Right?
And they were a small dog to TCU. So, TCU's playing for a national championship and Baylor's playing Air Force.
Yeah.
I'm surprised about that start time, December 22nd at 7:30 going up against the NFL. I don't know why they wouldn't have played a 5 p.m. lead-in, but...
Yeah.
Schedule makers, come on.
So, to recap, Harley's bowl betting system is look at big dogs of, say, 9.5, 10 points or more and bet them on the money line. Do a little research. Don't just blindly, because there were more than 2 opportunities, I think, in the next 12 games. Like in the 12 games.
Yeah, there was
week.
a UConn situation I didn't like as much. There was also betting action on UConn. In both of these cases, the favorites were even bet up a little bit more. So, yes, there is some nuance. Feel free to tweet at me if you want to know the nuance.
All right. So Corey has been waiting patiently. So before we get to the NFL, he's not back yet. All right. So then that gives us an opportunity as I shuffle papers here to begin our chat about week 15 in the NFL. And as per usual, Harley's favorite part of the program, I got to give you the numbers through week 14. Now, you recall, remember, I haven't done it every week, but I talked about home teams straight up. And it was around 50% or less for much of the season. Home teams have started to hit home.
Okay.
Sorry for the pun and bad alliteration. They're now up to almost 55% on the season. That's home teams straight up. So they've been on a good run the last 3-4 weeks. Remember what happened last week? It was the first big winning week for the favorites.
Mm-hmm.
You know how long that lasted?
1 week.
You got it. Dogs back on top against the spread. They were 8-5 a week ago, and now back up to 55% on the season. The home dogs had another winning week, 3-2, almost 57% on the season. And the overs, though, had a winning week, albeit barely. 7-6 a week ago. The unders still lead on the season at 55.6%. Notice a lot of 55, 56% numbers for home dogs, for dogs against the spread, and that home dogs are also against the spread, and unders. All the things that the public hates to bet.
Correct. Yeah.
If you'd been doing that all year long, you'd be up quite a bit of money depending on your unit betting strategy. So We got a triple header on Saturday.
Yes, we do.
Teddy talked about two of the games being pros versus Joes. It'll kick off at 1 p.m. Eastern with Indy at Mini. That's the Colts at the Vikings. Vikings were a 4.5-point pick. It's now down to 4. Totals 47.5. Thoughts on that one?
I do have a thought on that one.
Okay.
I don't have a play on that one, but I'm going to make a play tied into the name a bet. We'll deal with Corey.
Right.
But the long story short is I like the Vikings to bounce back. And
From their loss at Detroit?
From their loss last week to Detroit, and at least put up enough points that I kind of like them on the name a bet. We'll get into that with Corey.
Okay. 4:30 kickoff. That's Eastern, of course. Baltimore at Cleveland, an AFC North tilt. Now, earlier today, Lamar Jackson was officially ruled out.
Yeah.
The expectation was that he wouldn't play.
Mm-hmm.
So the line was 2.5, Cleveland favored. When the announcement came, it jumped to 3.
It's a short 3.
The
if you look at
total
the
went-
money, it's kind of 2.5-ish to 3 because you get
Meaning the juice?
the juice is minus 115 on Baltimore, plus 100 on Cleveland. So it's not quite 3 points.
It is 3, but you got to lay extra juice
Yeah.
if you want to lay the 3. The total is 38. Any thoughts on that one? And by the way, Huntley will be the quarterback. He's good to go for the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland's done nothing with Deshaun in their couple games to justify anything. I mean, my lean would be Baltimore and Harbaugh. Money line maybe take them plus 135. It's not an official play.
Okay.
But if you're sitting around on Saturday afternoon and you want to make a play, as a general rule, getting Harbaugh and that Baltimore team plus 135 against Deshaun do nothing.
I mean, that's not that I'm here to defend Deshaun Watson, but it's not surprising that he's struggled a little bit. A, they don't have a dynamic passing game like, receiver core anyway. And B, I mean, he hasn't really played an NFL game in 2 years.
I get it.
So, because prior to that, everything that happened, I mean, he was considered a top 5 quarterback
he was awesome
and
like
deserved it.
3 years ago. Russell
yeah.
Wilson was awesome like last year.
Yeah. For half the year.
They drop off a cliff.
The big one is the night game, 8:15 kickoff, Eastern time in Buffalo.
You going to Orchard Park?
No.
Below zero? What do you think the drive would be like?
Not
Fun?
a chance. It's the 9-3 Buffalo Bills hosting the 8-5 Miami Dolphins. Big one in the AFC East and for playoff positioning, especially for the Dolphins. But the Bills want to maintain the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. Did you see this? 2 weeks ago, Miami was in San Fran. It was 55 degrees.
I know, and they were
They had
cold with
heaters.
heaters. I know.
It's going to be snowing and freezing in
Yeah,
Buffalo.
they're going to have a problem.
Tua says it's not a problem, but
It's a problem.
I think it's a problem.
Mhm.
And by the way, the Dolphins lost both games on their little 2-game West Coast trip, the latest falling 23-17 Sunday night at the Chargers, and it really wasn't that close. The Bills won ugly. The conditions were as well.
Yeah.
20-12 over the Jets for their 4th straight win. As Teddy told you, all the Joes, meaning the public, are on the Bills. No surprise. Weather especially factoring into the public back in the Bills. And the pros are on the Dolphins taking a touchdown. Totals 44.5. You got to play on this one?
I don't have a play. I mean, 7 points for a pretty good Dolphins team is a lot of points, and I'd be very leery taking it with Buffalo. Having said that, I think Buffalo's got superior talent. Allen is considerably better than Tua, factoring in the weather and everything like that, and I wouldn't really want to be on Miami either.
Okay, but not an official play.
There's no plays.
All right, there are, I believe, 6 1:00 Eastern kickoffs on Sunday.
They're pretty gross.
It's funny you say that
the
because I
1:00
wrote down
games
here
suck.
the best matchup that I could come up with is probably
Cowboys,
Detroit
Jags, or Detroit Jets.
Detroit at the Jets. And I bypassed my Cowboys, which is an intriguing game because of what Jacksonville did last week and the way Trevor Lawrence has played the last month.
Agreed.
I went Detroit at the Jets. I put my personal bias aside.
Fair enough.
The Jets are a 1-point favorite. The total's 44.5. I also had a feeling you might have a thought on that one.
I have no plays at 1:00.
No?
The 1:00 games are gross.
I can't believe you're not on the Jags.
If anybody's listening to this who gets into fights with their spouses or their kids or their families about how much NFL they watch, if I were them, I would commit to not watching the NFL this Sunday at 1:00. Just give it a pass for those 3 hours. Look like a saint or an amazing husband or wife or father or son or daughter or whoever you are, and just skip it because it sucks. Watch the game Saturday.
I can't skip.
Watch the 4:00 game Sunday. I mean, if you really want to watch your Cowboys struggle to beat a mediocre team again, go ahead and
I will be watching my Cowboys. That goes without saying.
But that's why you're on your second wife.
There are so many places I could go with that, but I'm not taking the bait. I'm just not. But yes, I will be watching the Cowboys at the Jags. Cowboys a road favorite. I'm shocked you're not on the Jags on the money line. Shocked. Literally floored.
I'm not because the Cowboys are just coming off that gross win. So I find it's not the best of spots for a letdown. They're weary and leery after the last one.
And you're not going back to the Texans, right, who are a huge home dog to the Chiefs.
No, because they just, if anything, if you ever want to lay money, do it on the Chiefs this week, right? The Chiefs dominated Denver.
I know, but
Denver
they
got back
almost
into
coughed
the game.
up a 27-0 lead.
I mean, I don't like laying double digits on the road, but if you really want to do it, that Chiefs spot's a better spot than most after what Houston almost did last week.
All right, let's still no Corey. He's now he's pissed, right? Now he's pissed because I took shots at him.
Prima Donna's working for PointsBet. There's a few of them.
Can we? Social media Seb is here as always. Can you get Corey to get back on with us?
Let's do the.
We're almost ready. We're almost ready for him. We're going to do the late and the prime time. The two best late afternoon matchups, and there's a couple good ones.
Yes, there are.
Cincy at Tampa and Tennessee at the Chargers. I'm not going to give you the whole rundown, but do you have a play on either one?
Yeah, I like the Bucks.
Really?
So the Bucks are plus 3.5,
yes.
And I'm going to take them, risking 107 with the PointsBet reduced vig to win a unit.
Because everybody saw them get smoked at San Fran last week.
There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
For starters,
Cincinnati's won 5 straight.
Winning by a lot on the road is hard. Cincy, if anything, is better at home. I know they're strong. I know the Yucks were the Yucks and yucky lately, and Brady and Tampa looked awful. But as a home dog to keep it close, it seems like a good spot. I'm also going with this logic. Last week in San Francisco, they were only a 3.5-point dog.
Yep.
And now they're a 3.5-point dog at home to Cincy. Cincy is not rated higher than San Francisco. At best, they're on par.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So
they're about on par, yeah.
So the line moves 7 points against Brady because of one bad performance. That's the definition of overdoing it. And when the world zigs, you zag for value.
I was waiting for the zag comment,
and
that's a 1-unit play?
That's a 1-unit play. I thought about making that a 2-unit play. It's probably the play I like the most so far in this NFL season. 2
primetime games are, this is weird too from a scheduling standpoint, the 7-5-1 New York Giants at Washington to take on the 7-5-1 Commanders. NFC East matchup. It is your Sunday nighter. The G-Men got destroyed at home, giving up 48 points to the rival Eagles. While the Commanders come off the bye, and who did they play before the bye? The Giants.
Right.
That was the tie.
Yeah, that was the tie.
You have thoughts on this one? Oh, I should mention, Washington, they were a 5-point pick. They're now a 4.5-point favorite. Total's 40.5.
I don't have thoughts on this. There's a weird kind of scheduling quirk in the NFL, the way things break. If Seattle and Detroit both lose this week, Washington and the Giants are almost automatically in the playoffs.
They probably need one more win,
but
right?
They're close enough to in. If Minnesota wins,
they clinch the division.
Minnesota is looking like they should be the 2 seed, especially if San Francisco loses.
Well, that depends on Dallas, though, too, right?
No, Dallas and Philly are fighting for the 1, and the other guy drops below it.
Right.
Basically,
but if Dallas caught Philly, then they'd have the edge over Minnie.
Minnesota wins, San Francisco loses. Oh, no, San Francisco and Seattle can't both lose, so that can't happen.
Right.
There's a weird.
They could tie, though.
There's a weird thing in the NFL where being the last playoff team is really good because you get to play in Minnesota versus playing in San Francisco if you're the second worst team.
Right.
Just to give you an idea, Washington and the Giants would be almost pick 'em in Minnesota, and they will be 7-point dogs in San Francisco.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So you're going from being almost 50-50 to win a playoff game to being like 27% to win a playoff game. And by losing, you get to achieve this goal.
And additionally, the way it works out this year in the NFC, if you're a wild card team, you either want to be the top wild card team or the bottom, to your point. Because if you're the top, you will play the winner of the NFC South.
Correct. But that looks like Dallas is locked in. It
Pretty
looks
much.
like right now Dallas is going to be a small favorite at Brady to start the playoffs.
That's the way it looks.
That'll be the game of the first round.
The Monday nighter is,
let's just skip it. I don't have
you don't have a play. It's the 4-9 Rams at the 5-8 Packers. NFC tilt. I guess the intrigue is Baker versus Rodgers.
Pass.
I'll tune in just to see if Baker, because we've seen this movie before from Baker, right? He'll have an unbelievable game and then he'll shit the bed for like 3-4 weeks. So I'll be interested to see how Baker Mayfield performs, because apparently he is the starter the rest of the way for the Rams, barring
he
injury.
Produced a couple touchdowns in a couple minutes. Corey's on. He's back.
Corey's with us.
With a beer. He's for sure got a beer in hand by this point.
Got a beer in hand? Well, we'll find out.
Minimum.
Corey Travers, head trader at PointsBet Canada, is with us. Sorry to take shots at you early, Corey. How you doing?
Hey, all good. How's it going, guys?
Good. You were just early before. We weren't ready for you. Now we're ready.
Corey.
Awesome. Yes.
I'm not telling you how to do your job, but you might want to make a change on the PointsBet or you're going to get pillaged by bettors, because I think your number is way off on something I just discovered.
What's that?
The Raps, just to clarify, make and miss the playoffs in the NBA is making the final 16, correct?
That is correct.
Not the play-in, right?
Right now, the Raptors are plus 250 to miss the playoffs. That seems way off given how they're playing of late. If you look at the standings right now, the Raptors to make the top 6 seems very unlikely. And once you...
Oh, there's a lot. They haven't even played 30 games yet.
Fair enough, and they're not very good. And
I know, but they were 23-23 through 46 last year.
Okay, I'm telling you right now...
And they ended up being the 5 seed.
I'm telling you right now that I think that bet is so off.
Okay.
That if the PointsBet higher ups would allow me to send them $100,000, I would wire them I swear to you, I would wire them $100,000 right now for the right to win $250,000. Corey, if you want to run it by the higher ups, that's a challenge for you. I think the number's that off.
That's fair enough. Scrambling to check references right now, but yeah, that's that kind of insight is definitely the kind of thing that we welcome, because we don't want our numbers to be off. So yeah, thanks, Harley.
All right, he's public service, or shall I say PointsBet service announcement.
I work for PointsBet.
From Harley to Corey. Corey, name a bet this week came from Harley, another cross-sport special, and it was, what will be higher? Leafs score more goals at the Rangers tonight, or the Vikings have more touchdowns versus the Colts? You set the line, as the Leafs a pretty big favorite, minus 150 to take the Viking touchdowns, plus 110. Just quickly, how did you come up with that number? And I think Harley's making a play on that.
Yeah, we've actually, hope you got your plan earlier. We have shifted that a bit because the Leafs line, the total goal line in the Leafs, I think it opened at it was an under on the 6.5, but now it's gone down quite a bit. So we have shifted that a bit. The Leafs are still the favorites. Currently, I had some people dealing with this earlier. Let me get the up-to-date lines here. We have the Leafs at minus 125. And,
ooh, that's a big move.
The Vikings are down to minus 105.
Okay. Does that change your play, Harley?
Yeah. It's funny because I thought both of those numbers should be about 3. I like the Vikings to come back after their loss last week. The Leafs, if anything, are a little inflated after their 7-goal Ducks and all their hot stretch. I thought it was a coin toss at plus 110. I would have taken the Vikings. I think you got it at the right pricing now, so now it becomes a pass for me.
Oh,
good job, Corey.
Way to go, Corey. You knocked him off placing a bet and taking you guys possibly for some moolah. All right, yeah. World Cup final, Corey. What kind of handle do you expect? And what would it compare to for the game on Sunday?
The game on Sunday, honestly, I would expect something in the area of what we were getting for the Canada games.
Okay.
Obviously, like the non-Canada games have not been measuring up quite to the kind of handle we saw on the Canada games in the initial round. But I think that will change with the Sunday final. I think it's a big enough. First of all, I mean, they're the two teams that you want to see in there as a fan, like Argentina and France. Big name teams. So I think that's for the casual better. You want to see those teams with the Mbappes and Messi and everyone playing. I would imagine it will surpass some of the Canada games, and if it does, basically we're looking at like a marquee NBA matchup, or even like an NFL game that is not a standalone game or a feature game.
Gotcha. Excuse me. That's what I was going to ask is how would it compare to like a standalone NFL game? So not quite that level.
Well, the numbers. Sorry to interrupt, Corey. If you could do me a favor, track this week. Saturday, we got 3 standalone NFL games leading into the World Cup final on Sunday. I'm curious how. Forget about the Bills-Dolphins on Saturday night, where it's a big game, especially in our region, and Dolphins fans and Bills and stuff like that. But the first 2 matchups that are okay matchups in the NFL, I'm very curious how your handle is on those 2 on Saturday versus the World Cup on Sunday.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm
all right.
Pretty
So
interested to see
make
that
sure
myself.
You take notes.
So, yeah, for sure.
College. Oh, is there anything else? Sorry, is there anything else we need to know about the World Cup final? Like, are you seeing action on any props or, anything that you're being hit hard?
Or this little guy from Argentina. Is anybody talking about him? I don't remember his name. He's an older guy, but he's kind of short.
That's right. As far as props, I mean, the guys who are getting the attention are the big guys. Not physically big, but Messi and Mbappe. Right. But it's a lot of stuff. A lot of just what we're seeing is what we see the whole World Cup, which is a lot of money lines, a lot of core markets. Generally, I would say it's more casual better who's betting on these, and they just love the simplicity of the core markets.
I'm very intrigued to know, because obviously you weren't around, active in Ontario last year for college bowl season. We've got obviously none of the big bowls in the next week, but there's 12 games over the course of the next 6-7 days. Like what kind of action do you expect to see on some of these crazy bowl games, like the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl? Did anybody know there's a Jimmy Kimmel fucking bowl game?
Yeah.
I just learned this.
Yeah, it's funny. We actually in our system we just like track it by the actual matchup name, so I sometimes forget what the actual bowl name is called, especially since those change every year. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect to see. I don't think that the smaller bowls are anything bigger than what we would see on a typical NCAA football game. The one advantage they do have is that they're often at times of the sporting schedule where there's not a lot else on. So like weekdays over the holiday break.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're the only game in town, that's always a boost. But I'm not expecting anything to be blown out of the water in bowl season until we get to the playoff or at least the New Year's 6 games.
Right. Or some of the bigger bowl games, the traditional ones.
Yeah.
We always have to ask you about tonight. Was the line moved? Because I've been watching it the last few days. It had been the Niners favored by 3 most of the week. But Brock Purdy's status was unknown until a few hours ago. And then I saw the line jump to 3.5. Is that simply a reaction to the announcement that Purdy will start instead of Josh Johnson?
Yeah, I'd say for the most part. I mean, it's always pretty much baked in the line. That's why you only see a half-point move.
Right.
That Purdy was very likely to start, but you never know for sure. Also, there's just a ton of uncertainty over how good Purdy actually is. So I'd say early in the week, it's probably not the most efficient market in the world. But the more and more information you have, the more and more efficient the market becomes. And, we're running on less information than normal. It's not like we have Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers out there.
Yep. And before we let you go, anything else we need to know about tonight, Saturday, or Sunday in the NFL?
No, I mean we're just very excited to have an NFL Saturday slate going.
Yeah.
I mean that'll be very fun. So basically, like it's the time of year where a lot of people are taking time off for Christmas and stuff, but the trading world just keeps on running.
All right. Thanks for coming back to join us. I know you were early the first go around. We missed you live today, but we'll hope to do that again soon, and enjoy a very busy sports weekend.
Thanks a lot,
Yep.
Corey.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, guys. See you.
Thanks, Corey Travers, as I like to say, bring in the knowledge that we need each and every week. And Corey is the head trader at PointsBet Canada. We have one game still to cover. That's tonight. Waiting for your same game parlay.
Mm-hmm.
It is the 9-4 San Francisco 49ers at Seattle to take on the stumbling 7-6 Seahawks NFC West divisional matchup. Niners made it 6 straight with that 35-7 beatdown of Brady's Bucks. Brock Purdy wins his first start. Crazy, eh? Like Purdy over Brady. Like, it's just hilarious. Seahawks turned it over way too often and lost 30-24 at home to Carolina. And the Seattle defense is back to dreadful. I mean, they just can't stop anybody. But don't forget, this is 12th man territory. The crowd in Seattle is always a factor. This is Brock Purdy's first road game with some banged up ribs and oblique. I'm thinking you're all over Seattle in some way on this same game parlay.
Yeah, I'm selling high on Purdy after that insane game versus Brady. So the first game of his NFL career happened 4 days ago.
First start.
Because
he came in for Garoppolo, right? And played 3/4 of that game.
He knew he was starting.
Yeah.
He started last week. He annihilates Brady. He's all the talk and all the rage. And now he's got 3 days with sore ribs, etc., to prepare to go on the road into Seattle to veteran coach Carroll. And like you said, the 12th man. That's a just really, really, really tough spot. So my same game parlay is very simple. It's the Seahawks plus 3.5 points. And for Purdy to go under 215.5 passing yards, it pays plus 260. I'm risking a half a unit to win 1.3 units.
So Seattle plus 3.5 and Purdy under 215.5 pass yards. It pays
plus 260.
And how many units?
A half unit for 1.3.
0.5 units. The other part of that handicapping that I like is you got to think on the road with the crowd noise there. No Debo. Remember, Debo Samuel's out. They're going to want to try and protect Purdy, right? So he doesn't take big hits on those sore ribs.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to expect San Fran, who loves to anyway, run the ball a lot. That would be the expectation. I like it. So. No, I'm not making a play on that. I have a play already this week.
I know. We'll discuss it after my plays, but the fact that you even like one of my plays, mate, creates a little.
Oh, I liked it last week too, actually.
True.
And you were super close.
Very.
Although, actually, no, I was questioning it a bit last week. I'm like, how are the Rams going to do it? And
Baker Mayfield will put up 2 touchdowns in the last minute and a half.
The Raiders just handed it to them in many ways. So not as many plays as last week. Not as many units at risk. Because you are a responsible gambler.
I got 5 plays we'll get into soon. But first, PointsBet wants you to.
Well, that's where I was going.
I was leading you.
Enjoy your gambling experience. But if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call the Connex Ontario helpline at 1-866-531-2600 or message PointsBet's amazing customer support and they will help you personally. That's guaranteed. Time to recap your picks for the week.
So I entered the week up 5.66 units or $566 if your average bet's $100. Tonight, my same game parlay, the Seahawks plus 3.5 and Purdy going under 215.5 passing yards. It pays plus 260. I'm risking 0.5 units to win 1.3 units. In college bowl action tomorrow, I'm on Miami of Ohio in the first of 43 bowl games, plus 320. Risking 0.4 units to win 1.28 units. Also, Saturday, the late game, I think it's like a 9:45 kickoff. North Texas, in the Frisco Bowl, plus 310. I'm risking 0.4 units to win 1.24 units. I don't think Boise State gets it done when they're not playing on blue turf. Sunday, there's something called the World Cup, and the final is on. And there's a team called France that seems to be the best team, and they've been the best team in the tournament.
Champs.
And outside of Brazil, the best team. And I think they beat Little Messi in regulation, plus 180. I'll risk 0.7 units to win 1.26 units. And finally, on Sunday, I only got a single NFL play. It's actually my favorite NFL play of the year to date. I'm only risking a unit, but I was tempted to make it a 2-unit play. I'm on Brady and the Bucks plus 3.5 as a home dog to Cincy. Cincy and Burrow clearly are a talented team. They crush teams at home. Winning on the road by 4+ is hard. I'll risk 1.07 units to win a unit. And finally, Jorey's play. He is down 5.07 units, looking to win back a unit. He's on Argentina plus 180 in reg.
Because I wanted to take you on, and I've made it clear I'm rooting for Messi in Argentina all the way along. We say thank yous. There's many. Social media Seb's aboard. We thank him for showing up. Our great producer, Jordan LaRoche, thank you, especially for keeping Corey in line. Our great host at the bottom line, again, right next to the Hockey Hall of Fame on Front Street in downtown Toronto and Harley's go-to spot for wings. We also thank our two guests, Corey Travers, the head trader at PointsBet Canada, and Teddy Greenstein, not Steen. I screwed it up initially. And he is the chief poobah at the Hustle newsletter and senior editor and player development manager at PointsBet USA. Remember to check us out on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And you can always reach out to us on Twitter at Jorey Middle or at Sharp Edge Picks. You can also email us, playon@pointsbet.ca. Don't forget to follow the PointsBet Canada Twitter account. The man who takes care of it is right there, Social Media Seb. And if you're 19 or over and you live in Ontario, remember, open up your PointsBet account and start playing. Again, 19 and older and live in Ontario. And on the way out the door, home to watch Leafs and Thursday night football. And I don't know if there's a good NBA game as well. I will say for Harley, I'm Jorey. May all your picks be winners, ours too, especially Argentina. And we'll talk to you next week for another edition of Play On with Jorey and Harley, powered by PointsBet. Enjoy, folks.
Take care.